As a reminder, this is a lesson for folks that maybe have done only a couple of referee assignments, or maybe you haven't done one at all yet. I wanted to go through fundamentals. I've also recorded an advanced referee lesson. You can look at that on our CSFOA website in a couple of days. There is a referee lesson on the Art of Officiating website in the mechanics folder, and I highly recommend you go to that because it does have videos. As you are putting tools in your referee toolkit, you can use that Art of Officiating website to do so. The first thing I wanted to talk about was finding a mentor. I recommend you find somebody and ask that person, would you be willing to have me email you or call you or text you? You are on a crew, and so I don't want to undermine your crew chief in any way. If your crew chief is unavailable, I would love to be able to connect with you if that's what you desire. Keep a journal as you go through issues on the field and you learn something new, write it down, and then you can go back and review it. I don't think we can grow well by ourselves. Finding a mentor, I think, is important. As the referee, you are the leader of the crew, even if you're the referee and your crew chief is on the game. And especially if you are doing subvarsity games, I think being vocal on the field helps the other officials. If you're refereeing, say, a C squad game or a 7th or 8th grade game, some of your crew members are younger. If you don't have veterans at every position, I think the more you talk and you're vocal, the more comfortable the folks on the field feel. Don't be the silent referee. That's okay if you're on a high-level varsity game with 4 other veteran officials. You don't need to jabber. But what I found is as you are on subvarsity games, it's helpful to be vocal. I'm retired military and I was an officer, and one of the first things I was taught was rely on your NCOs. A good leader is going to rely on the veterans. Even though you are in charge of the crew, that doesn't mean we take this authoritative, autocratic approach. The more we can involve the crew, and we'll talk about pregame in a couple of slides, the more the crew feels like a unit instead of 3 or 4 or 5 separate people. So I'd highly recommend, as much as you can, rely on your NCOs, rely on your veterans in the pregame and on the field, but have the confidence to make tough decisions. And here's my first anecdote. I was up in Deer Trail. I was on a varsity game, and it was my 4th year, and there were 3 veteran officials on the field. The runner went to the right side, and I was looking at the runner, and I was looking at the block ahead of the runner, and one of the veteran officials threw a flag on the goal line for a block in the back. The runner had already scored, and he threw the flag, and when he reported it to me, he said the runner had not scored. And I didn't have the courage to say, we are going to make this a dead ball foul. And the team ended up not scoring on that drive, and the team ended up losing by, I think, 1 or 2 points. So there are some times that even as a brand new white hat, you need to make tough decisions if you know that beyond a shadow of a doubt you are correct. A good leader, I think, maintains the positive attitude. We're going to set the example for the rest of the crew. If we show up moping, if we show up complaining, if we show up tired, then that's going to rub off on the crew. I've been doing this now, starting my 18th year. I have made every mistake in the world. Sometimes we grieve over our mistakes, but one of the things we need to remember is we learn best by making mistakes. You will make mistakes. Give yourself some grace. We want to trust the crew. Now, I'm going to say kind of a both and statement. If you are on a game with 2 or 3 or 4 varsity officials that are seasoned, you can trust your crew more than if you are the white hat and you've got 2 rookies on the sidelines. We talk about fishing in somebody else's pond. Sometimes you have to widen your aperture depending on who is on your game. If there is an official that is new, they don't know the mechanics well, they may not know the rules well, their judgment may not be refined, you may have to widen your aperture and you may have to look outside of your primary coverage area, take a peek. There are some exceptions. As a referee, you need to protect the quarterback, and you can't be looking downfield on long passes and your quarterback gets killed. You don't want to have conflicts on the field. I was on a game as a young referee when the 2 wings didn't like each other and they could not line up to get a spot. And so they were constantly the whole game fighting about the spot. as much as possible as the leader, we need to mitigate those issues and try to de-escalate the issues as much as we can. I'm going to say something that is, again, a both and. You need to be a perfect rules person, knowing that you're not going to be a perfect rules person the next time you walk on the field. There are a lot of components of the rules book that it just takes years and years and years and years. I worked on the Art of Officiating website for an entire year, and I probably tripled my rules knowledge because I went through every word of that rules book as I was creating videos. Try to get into the rules book, look at the Reading Study Guide, take notes. If there's a question you have, if there's a situation in the case book that doesn't make sense, reach out to somebody. As you're going through and you say, okay, I know that rule, you can move on, but if you see something in the rules book or the Reading Study Guide, maybe take a highlighter and highlight it, and then in your notebook or your journal, you write it out, you write a question, you note the things that you need to go back and look at again. The same is for the mechanics manual. You're going to now have to study 2 or even 3 positions. If you're a swing and you do a wing and the referee, or you do a wing and a back judge and the referee. Get into the mechanics manual and really know all the positions, because as the white hat, you are going to have to help other members of your crew that maybe didn't study the mechanics manual and they have no idea where they're supposed to stand. Get into that mechanics manual. Try to study all the positions. There are 3-person mechanics, 4-person mechanics, and then 5-person mechanics. Contact the school just to say, hey, we're still on for Friday at 4 o'clock, especially if you're doing a sub-varsity game. There could be a problem with the schedule. We have had people show up on the field and it was in arbiter and there was no game. So call the school, talk to somebody. I know sometimes you send the emails out, they never come back. Be persistent. When you get the thumbs up 3 days prior, you can then contact the crew, and then you tell them, let's say you're going to Elizabeth for a JV or C squad game. You're going to be driving hopefully together. And you stipulate where you're going to jump off, what is the uniform, and then if somebody doesn't confirm, don't just assume they're going to be there. Follow up with the emails, the phone calls. Regardless of level, create a coach's game card. The coaches love to see it, and I think that even the younger coaches, the sub-varsity, their game is the Super Bowl. The C-Squad players have looked forward all week to their game, just as the varsity players have. And I've handed game cards to coaches in the season, and they go, wow, this is the first game card I've ever received. I think it's a good first impression to give a nice, colorful game card that has your names, and you hand it to the coach, you say, here's your crew for the day. I think it just sets the stage for success. For the sub-varsity pregame, you're kind of at a disadvantage because you're not showing up at 5:30 to walk on the field at 6:30. You're showing up at 3:30 or 3:20 for a 4 o'clock kickoff. Do the best you can. And what I like to do is, if it's a sub-varsity game, use the email as your pregame. You send the email off and you say, okay, Nick, you're the linesman. You're going to have the kickers. Eric, you're the line judge. You're going to have the receivers on the punts. Eric, you're the line judge. I want you to go deep and be with the receiver before the snap. Try to do as much of the pregame with the email. You may have somebody who's leaving work, racing to get to the field, and they're walking on the field 5 minutes before kickoff. And if that's the way it works, that's the way it works. Early in the season, especially with newer officials, I would try to meet as early as possible. With the brand new officials, tell them where to park. Here's the school, this is where we park, this is how you get to the field. The more you can communicate, the better. I like to try to walk on the field at least 20 minutes prior to kickoff so I can have 5 minutes with each coach. And then we can talk, make sure everybody is ready to go, and then we have the captains at 5 minutes before kickoff. For the pregame, create a binder. If you need some of the content, send me an email and I'll send you my content. And then have a copy of the mechanics manual, the 3- and 4-person mechanics. I can send them to you if you need them, and they're amendments, and you can print them out and you can have them in your bag. And this is more relevant for varsity. Don't allow the pregame to devolve into stories, and don't allow one official, including yourself, to dominate the conversation. What I like to do at the varsity level, and you can even do it for sub-varsity, maybe it doesn't work because you don't have enough time. I do 3x5 cards with a concept, either a mechanics concept or a rules concept. For example, momentum exception, define holding, define a horse collar tackle, define a block in the back, whistle discipline, fumble mechanics, and then I hand them out. And that allows the whole crew to be involved, and it's not just the white hat blabbing for an hour. As a minimum, especially if you're meeting in a parking lot outside of Venezia or outside of a middle school, talk about mechanics, talk about keys. For example, if you have 3-person, you have a kickoff, who's looking at whom. Talk about how you're going to communicate. If you're a white hat on a 4-person crew, you don't have radios, what are your hand signals? Pre-game, the hand signals, the communication, and then pre-game what if. My first game in 2007 was at Challenger Middle School, and the wind was howling, and the white hat said, we're going to have a safety today. And sure enough, the final score was 2-0. No milling around, no idle chatting, have a purpose, check the sideline markers, brief our ball runners. The line judge often briefs the clock, so that's an error on the slide. Often in a sub-varsity, unfortunately, we have an issue with chains. Make sure when you talk to the coach, you have an adult on the box. You do not want kids on the chains that are hurt, and you don't want kids on the chains that are going to be staring at their cell phone all day. Look at the field. If they're using a practice field, the blocking sleds, they're off of the field. They have the goalpost padded. All players must be legally equipped. I've been on fields before where you've got a 7th grader who weighs 200 pounds and he doesn't fit in pants, and so he hasn't put in any pads. And the coach says, well, we can't put pads in the pants. Well, he cannot play. And then you've got the real skinny kids where they're wearing the pants. Unfortunately, and I'm just going to say it, the kids are going to lie. Are you wearing knee pads? Are you wearing hip pads? They'll say yes. You don't want to touch the kid. I would say, can you please show me your knee pad, your hip pad? And they don't have them equipped. And they say, well, we ran out of hip pads or knee pads. Well, that child cannot play. Everybody has to be legally equipped. Excuses don't matter. You have to be dogmatic about equipment. You'll most likely have numbering exceptions with sub-varsity. Most likely both teams will have them. If one team has number 90 as the left guard, let the other coach know. The teams are not trying to deceive their opponents with numbering. It's just that they don't have the requisite number of jerseys to be properly numbered. Come together as a crew, if you can, to discuss any observations. Typically, we do the pregame in the parking lot. We walk on the field with 20 minutes. We have the coach interviews, and then we talk for a couple minutes and we get captains. Unfortunately, for sub-varsity, coaches don't know the rules. They're going to think that the tush push is fine. They're going to think the center can snap the ball, touch the quarterback's hands, and then keep the ball and run into the end zone. They're going to try to live vicariously through their players. I found that C-squad coaches and maybe 8th grade coaches, they're going to get most angry because they don't have the maturity yet to be able to coach the players and not just spend the whole day yelling at you. When you talk to the coach, relaxed and professional, not too chummy, spend the same amount of time with each coach. If you spend 7 minutes with one and 2 minutes with the other, the 2 minutes coach is going to say, what the heck? I'm already getting screwed. If a coach is complaining about the other team, we don't have sub-varsity game film typically, but they probably know each other, and they'll say something like, their kids hit people in the head with their helmets. I would say to the coach, I understand, we'll be looking for that. Don't allow the coach to badmouth the other team and then say, yeah, I can see where that could be true. If the coach is complaining about something that happened in the past and say, well, last week this happened on the field, you could ask the coach to describe it and say, could you tell me what happened? A good answer is, I'm not familiar with that particular play, but by rule. So you're citing the rule book. If they said they allowed the team to do this and you know it should have been a foul, but they got away with it, you could say what you described by rule and then talk about the rule book. So you're not talking about the officiating crew that preceded you. Here are a list of questions. I'm not going to go through each one. You can email me and say, hey, can you send me a list of the questions? What I like to do is memorize the questions so that you're not looking at a card. You get into a rhythm where you just appear competent. One of the things at the bottom is instruct the coach to speak with the wing. If you have a rookie on the field, if you have a wing official that is not as savvy, you may have to amend this a little bit. But you just don't want the coaches yelling onto the field at you. If you have a veteran wing, tell the coach, talk to Joe. He's a great official. He'll communicate your concern to me, and we'll get you the answer as soon as we can. Get the ball person's name so that the wing can write it down. I do not ask for captains because I'm going to be talking to the coach. So even at a 5A varsity game, I don't care who the captains are. The win toss choice, if you win the toss, what are you going to do? I don't ask that of the coach anymore because I screwed it up at Widefield High School with Mesa Ridge, and the coach was in my face for the entire first half. For sub-varsity, I always ask the home team coach, what is the status of your chain crew? And you need that right away. They know they're supposed to have the chains, but they have no idea who it is. Sometimes they'll say the teachers are going to come out. By the way, if you have to delay the game because the chain crew has not been briefed, delay the game. Do not have the game. If kickoff is at 4 o'clock, don't worry about the kickoff. You need to have a competent chain crew. So delay the game. Even the 8th grade level or the C squad, I will ask, will you kick extra points or field goals? You need to know the mechanic for, especially 4-person, where the wing facing the holder goes under the upright with the umpire, and then the referee is facing the holder, and then the opposite wing has the entire line. It's a little different than varsity, obviously, and we just need to know how to do that. For the coin toss, you can have a march from the side of the field. Sometimes, unlike varsity, where the teams come out and they're standing on the sideline and they're ready to go with 5 minutes, most of the time the players are on the field warming up and you just say captain. It's up to you whether or not you just have them come to the middle or they go to the sideline and they march onto the field. The kids may want to do that. If I'm a little behind and we need to get the game started, I'll just have them come to the middle of the field. The umpire and linesman from the chains, the referee and line judge from the press box. You will face the scoreboard during the toss, so make sure you let whomever is coming in from the opposite side, let them know which way you're going to turn. And then if you have newer officials, I recommend you invite them to join the players and you invite them to listen because they're not going to learn if they are restricted to the 48-yard line on the hash and they can't hear the conversation. And then one of my pet peeves is a referee that gives a speech. The players aren't listening. They're not paying attention. You're not going to say anything that's going to stick with them. Move on to the coin toss. I allow the captains to view both sides of the coin. I show both sides of the coin to the home team first. This is heads, this is tails. I'll say to the visitor, this is tails, this is heads. Then I will say to the visiting team captain, what is your call? And the younger they are, the more confused they're going to be. I might say, you call the coin toss, call heads or tails, or something like that. If they're worried or a little anxious, they'll just squeak out the answer. And I'll say, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What did you say? And they'll say it louder. And then I will turn to the home team captain and say, what did you hear him say? And if he says the same choice, then I will say the third person, the call is head. Then I will tell the captains, I will let it hit the ground because I'm not athletic enough to try to catch it in the air. Visiting team, it's your call. Call heads or tails. Tails. Home team, what did you hear him say? Tails. The call is tails. Then it hits the ground. I'll say it is a tail. Visitors, you get the choice. And do not let them say kick. Say, you do not want to kick. What do you want to do? And then typically one of the other 3 kids will say, we want to defer. Even in a varsity game, 5A, do not let the kids say kick. I would say, do you want to defer to the second half? If the choice is to defer, immediately step out, face the press box, point to the team that is deferring, give the incomplete pass signal, Then you step back in and say to the other team, you want the ball or you want to receive. Then say to the team that deferred, in which direction would you like to kick or which goal line would you like to defend? And then I'll say, put your butt in the right direction. I will often say, stay close. Because for some reason, the kids are face to face, but then when they move to a yard line, they separate by like 10 yards. They'll move away. So I'll say, stay close to each other. Move in the direction you want to go to kick or receive. And then I will say, shake hands one more time. Good luck. If the choice is to receive, we want the ball, we want to receive. Then you say to the kicking team, either in which direction would you like to kick or which goal would you like to defend? And then say, stay close, move your butts in that direction, and then you're going to physically move. And the one thing I neglected to say is your last action before you say good luck is you give the receive signal, and do not be on the opposite side of the press box. Always stay on the press box side. Give the receive signal before the kickoff. If you're having a 4-person crew, a 3-person crew, the head linesman is on the kickers, the line judge is on the receivers, so we're going to get a football for the head linesman. I like to always make one more comment to the crew before we bomb burst. It's a positive, affirming comment like, I've been looking forward to this game all week. I'm really excited to be on this game with you guys. Something that is affirming and positive, stripes on 3 or whatever you want to say. You do 1, 2, 3 stripes, and then you do not walk. As a referee, you're going to be running from the 50-yard line to the goal line. Don't walk. Hustle to your position and have your crew hustle to their position. For the kickoff, you are on the goal line, on the chain side, on the hash mark. Wait for the officials to confirm ready, which means all officials. The official that is on the kicker's restraining line, when he runs off the field, you want that official to turn, look at the formation, confirm the formation is legal, then put his hand in the air. The opposite wing, the line judge that is at midfield, doesn't put his hand in the air until the head linesman does. And if you're on a 5-person crew, until the back judge does. You want the back judge or head linesman on the kicker's restraining line to start. You want the line judge to go second, and then any other officials that are downstream go last. If an official downstream puts his hand in the air and you're daydreaming about something and you blow the ready for play while the back judge is still running off the field, not a good first impression. So wait for all officials to confirm they're ready. If an official, a young official, is anxious and everybody's hand is in the air except that young official, if you're close enough, you can say, hey, Nick, you ready? And then they snap out of it. Or they're looking upfield, they just forgot to put their hand in the air. You can blow the ready for play. You blow the whistle and you chop, and we'll talk about chopping later. Blow a 1-second sustained beep, and then you're ready for play. Remain on the goal line until it's no longer a factor. In sub-varsity games, a lot of the kicks are going to be short. But what you don't want is the ball bouncing on the 20, bouncing over a receiver's head, and you've already vacated the goal line and you've run up to the 5 or 10, then you got to backpedal back to the goal line. Don't be too hasty to leave the goal line. If the ball's kicked to the sideline, move toward the pylon. And when in doubt, the ball has crossed the goal line for a touchback. A kick that crosses the goal line is immediately dead. If the ball's kicked and the player fields it on the half-yard line and steps back into the goal line, call it a touchback. When in doubt, it's a touchback. We wind the clock when it's touched by Team R. We don't wind the clock when the kick goes obviously out of bounds or into the end zone, or if Team K touches it first, we don't wind the clock. You won't have a microphone in sub-varsity. If you do have encroachment, the head linesman will signal hands on hips and then mark off the foul. Don't forget, if there's a free kick out of bounds untouched by R, give the false start signal. If you do have momentum exception, I've had it once in 17 years, drop the beanbag and then go buy a lottery ticket. You have the runner until he reaches an upfield official, and if it's 3-person mechanics, you'll probably have the runner for a long time. If it's 5-person mechanics, you have the runner until he reaches the umpire or the head linesman. If the runner breaks free, Do not allow players to be behind you. It's very awkward when a runner fields the ball in the R5 and runs 95 yards for a touchdown, and you are on the R15 with two opposing players because they're walking. Don't run past players. If it's a normal kickoff and we have a downed runner, maintain a cushion. Don't just run into the pile. Stop. We're giving the stop the clock signal, everyone. Still keep your cushion for wide eyes to be able to dead ball officiate. If there's a big pile and there's some kind of buffoonery, then get into the pile. Physical presence and our voice. We're not going to spot the dirty ball, so we can verbally say, we'll snap from the 33. You will probably police the dirty ball off the field. If you have a back judge, he's far away from the pile because he started on the K40. He may be helping to get the tee off the field, so don't just stand there and not do anything. And you may have to help get a clean ball onto the field, and if it's three-person mechanics, you will be spotting the ball. So be an active referee after a kickoff, and then give the first down signal. Before we snap the ball, confirm the down and the distance. The chains are set. We have one in the box. If you're blowing the 25-second play clock, you don't have to rush. Everybody's waiting for your whistle. Don't go too fast. Your job is to count the offense, but I like to count both teams, even in a varsity game. What I like to do is count the defense while the offense is in the huddle. Then when the offense breaks, I count groups of players. 5 linemen, the quarterback, 3 receivers, and 2 receivers. I don't try to count the offense in the huddle. I wait till they break, then I count, and then I show full to the umpire and then full to the wing. Don't say you've counted if you have not. I've done that more times than I want to confess. The umpire shows he's full and it's like, oh crap, I haven't counted. I show I'm full because I don't want to look stupid. Do not say you're full unless you counted, because you look even more stupid when you lift a fist and say I'm full and then the 11th player runs onto the field. Or worse, the 12th player runs off the field. One of the things that is key is keep a consistent pace. Don't rush. The crew will like if you're keeping the consistent pace. After the ready for play, look at the formation. You're caging your gyros to say, I believe this is going to happen. When you blow the ready for play, be in position. We'll talk about where to stand, but if you're doing C squad or varsity, you want to be 12 to 15 yards away. Don't signal ready for play and then turn your back to the ball. There's no reason to signal the ready for play when you're 5 yards from the ball and then you back out. Don't look at the press box. Look at the players in front of you and signal the ready for play. The umpire, and he may have to be briefed, I've had varsity umpires that don't do this well, is they'll spot the ball and back out when you're going to blow a 25-second ready for play. They must stand over the ball. Tell them, do not back out until I push you out, with a nod or pointing, but make your umpire stand over the ball if you're going to blow the 25-second. If you're going with the 40-second, the umpire can spot the ball, back out, you're not blowing a ready. I do have some football pet peeves. One of them is a referee that starts his chop either in front of his face or worse at his chest or even worse at his waist. Your chop is for the clock operator. Start high. Don't reach so your elbow is completely straight. Be athletic. Little bent elbow. Start high and chop. If you wind, you're going to wind the clock on the ready. Don't chop and then wind. The clock operator, if they see the chop, could think, I'm going to wait for the snap to start the clock. If you're going to wind, start high and then do a 1.5 windmill. Don't look at the press box. Look at the players. A good strong 1 second ready for play, no chirping. And then what I do, especially in a sub-varsity field, is I will check the clock even looking over my shoulder. I wind, I look over my shoulder, is the clock running? I chop, I look over my shoulder, is the clock still stopped? When I talk to the coach, are there any special plays or formations that might take us by surprise? We're going to go hurry up. The team will be in formation, ready to go when the ball is placed. Now, the ball is marked by rule ready for play when it's put on the ground and the official backs out to their position. So don't let team A snap the second after the umpire puts the ball down, because now the umpire is possibly blocking the defense. So tell the coach, don't snap until the umpire backs out. If the coach says they're going to go fast, I will say to the coach, thanks for letting us know. We will facilitate the hurry up. We will not allow you to snap the ball if we're not ready. We're getting a dirty ball off the field after an incomplete pass. The back judge is not even looking at the formation. I'm going to blow my whistle. Beep, 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 beep. Coach yells at me. I say, Coach, I'm sorry. We're getting a dirty ball off the field. We're not ready to officiate the next play. The chains don't have to be set before the ball is marked ready for play. It's an 80-yard run. There's nothing in the rule book says the chains have to be set before the next snap. Start 12 to 15 yards deep, and if you're doing 3rd and 4th grade, you do probably 10. 7th or 8th grade, maybe 12. As the teams become more skilled, you can decide you want 12 or 15. The mechanics manual says at least as wide as the tight end. Those tight ends are not wide enough, so you need to be 3 or 4 yards even wider. Because you're on the passing arm side of the quarterback, and most kids are not going to run against their passing arm and throw across their body. If the quarterback's going to roll out, they're going to be on your side, and you want to beat them to the sideline. We'll talk about that in a second. Cant yourself a little bit to face the opposite tackle. The opposite tackle is your key at the snap. You can stand with both legs side by side. I think you should look athletic. Some white hats like to put one leg in front of the other. You just decide what you want to do. Just don't look disinterested. I use a lanyard whistle. As soon as the snap goes off, I spit the whistle out. You're not a basketball official. You don't want to be running around the field with the whistle in your mouth. You can practice and reach down and grab the whistle to put it in your mouth. You are responsible for the legality of the back end of the snap. You're not responsible for an illegal snap like a double clutch. Let the umpire be responsible for the front end of the snap. By rule, the snap has to leave the snapper's hands immediately. I've seen a couple times where the quarterback forgot the snap count. The snapper puts the ball up under his butt and the quarterback doesn't possess the ball. That's a foul. The ball can be snapped and scoot along the ground. The ball slipped out of the snapper's hands. That's fine. You are initially going to key on the opposite tackle, and then you're going to read that block for pass or run. And then you're also responsible for the near tackle on a pass play as well. So there's quite a bit to look at. Discipline yourself. Always look at that opposite tackle. Get into the habit. I used to go 2 plays in a row and go, hey, knucklehead, what are you looking at? I wasn't looking at the opposite tackle. As a white hat, you must protect the passer. You must stay with the passer. If you're on a 3-person crew on a 5th grade game, Parks and Rec, if you're on a 7th grade game with 2 rookie wings, there will be cases where there's the most heinous DPI ever and you're not looking downfield. And that may happen. What you don't want to have happen is the pass goes off, you shift your gaze downfield, and your quarterback gets clotheslined or illegal helmet contact or something. You must discipline yourself. There are many times, and this may not happen in a sub-varsity game, but in a varsity game, the crowd noise tells you something happened. You must stay with the passer. Do not look downfield. A quick pass to the right or left. Don't look to the right or left. When the quarterback takes his drop, if he's coming at you, back out diagonally. You don't want to get hooked and have a player run behind you. If that quarterback is running to the sideline, beat him to the sideline. Don't trail. Don't have that quarterback be between the sideline and the hashes, and you're on the hash mark. At the snap, you're looking at that left tackle on a pass play. You're looking at the right tackle on a pass play. You're also aware of low block. So you have a back who's protecting the quarterback, and then he dives low. So that's a lot to look at. Holding must scream. There is a holding video on the Art of Officiating website. And as I said, don't run past players. Long pass downfield, I guarantee there's going to be linemen from both teams that are just going to be standing there. Don't run past them. The 2 wings have to go downfield. There's no coverage except you. And then if there is a turnover, you're the back judge. You've got the goal line. For roughing the passer, there is a video online. Keep your eyes on the passer. When in doubt, it is roughing. Anything above the shoulders is a a foul. Helmet to helmet, the players can hold up. If they slam into or just simply shove the quarterback to the ground, they are demonstrating physically that they knew the ball was gone, because no coach teaches players to tackle by slamming or shoving. If they wrap up, give them grace. 2 steps wrap up, I'm good. 1 step slam and shove, depending on the severity of the blow, I might have roughing. On borderline plays, we may talk to the defense. I don't like saying, if you do that again, it's a foul. I like telling the players what I want to see from them. So I might say, hey, 58, the ball was away. I want to see a good wrap-up tackle if you think he still has the ball. If the players hold up, every single time, I'm going to seek out that player when the ball's dead, unless they run off the field. And I'm going to say in front of his teammates and loud enough so the coach can hear it, hey, 58, that's great sportsmanship. Thank you. Good job. For a sack, there are some when in doubt or when in question in our mechanics manual. When in question, it's an incomplete forward pass instead of a fumble. Sometimes the sack can result in a backward pass where the quarterback spun around. If you believe his forward progress has stopped, you could say forward progress stopped, the ball's dead. In that 1 out of 100 time where the quarterback gets hit and he throws the ball backward, it's not an incomplete forward pass, obviously. If the quarterback is sacked, go to the quarterback immediately. It is your spot. You have forward progress. The wings don't run back toward the line of scrimmage and get forward progress. Often the quarterback, if he's sacked, lost yardage after his forward progress was stopped. Step forward a couple yards, and it doesn't matter if you're a yard off, because when the quarterback's sacked, they lost 5, 6, 7 yards. And if you give them an extra yard because in your judgment that's where the contact started, then you're okay. For intentional grounding, the person who received the snap is the only one who has the exception. That person must be outside the lateral boundary of the free blocking zone sometime. They can go out, they can come back. And the ball has to reach the line of scrimmage. When in doubt, they were outside. When in doubt, the ball did reach the line of scrimmage. If you think there's intentional grounding, drop a beanbag. Take your time, have a conversation, and consider prowess of the passer. That means a 7th grade kid is different than a JV kid. When in doubt, it's not grounding. I have found that a quarterback's post-pass posture may provide a clue. If the quarterback has not gone outside the lateral boundary and after he throws the ball, he looks away, one of my clues is, well, you didn't intend on completing a pass. If he throws the ball and he's looking intently downfield, I'm going to give him a little bit more grace that he intended on completing a pass. For runs, and this is a big blind spot for Mark Bradley. I've taken my eyes off the quarterback after a pitch or a handoff to watch the runner, because the runner is your responsibility until he crosses the line of scrimmage. The quarterback gets destroyed. When I say delay, that means take an extra second to make sure the quarterback is safe after that pitch or handoff, especially with option plays. It's a both and. You're responsible for the quarterback. You're also responsible for the runner. Make sure the quarterback's safe, and then you get the runner. If the quarterback keeps the ball, obviously you are tracking him until he crosses the line of scrimmage. If he's running away, the ball snapped on the right hash, the quarterback or a runner goes to the opposite sideline. Sprint, do not walk, do not jog. You don't arc, you take a straighter line. Try to watch the blockers ahead of the runner, but don't fish in somebody else's pond. You have a wing and they're looking at the block, don't throw a flag in front of them. That's one of my pet peeves. You've got a teammate who is watching the play and you decide that your view is better than theirs. If you have a brand new official and you see the worst hold in the history of holds, you see a block below the waist or whatever, you can get it. In a 50-50, trust your wing. Obviously, be aware of a reverse. For any long run, do not leave players behind you. We've seen it 3 times now. Never have a player behind you. After the play, if players are out of bounds, if we're on a 5-person crew, we want that back judge and the referee to get out of bounds. If you don't have a back judge as the referee, you get out of bounds. If the players are down in bounds, don't run into the pile. Maintain a cushion. Let the umpire run into the pile. If it's 3-person, then run into the pile because now you are the de facto umpire. 5-person, keep a cushion. 4-person, keep a cushion. 3-person, you can go into the pile. We want to keep that cushion for wide eyes. Do not look at the line judge and the head linesman when the players are together because the line judge and head linesman will never commit a personal foul. You're going to help with ball handling, even on a varsity 5-person crew. You might have to help get a ball onto the field. Don't be lazy. Don't just stand at your ready for play position while the umpire skitters all over the field getting the ball. If it's a 4-person crew and there's a long pass 30 yards downfield and the receiver picks it up and runs back to hand it to the umpire, a good umpire is going to range to get the ball. You go to the spot, you have the umpire toss you the ball. Don't make the umpire run all over the place while you're just standing. If it's a 3-person crew, you're going to be spotting the ball. You're going to be hustling around, using your voice a lot. For goal line plays, don't look at the wings. Runner goes into the pile at the goal line. Don't turn and look at the wing to look what their ruling was. Look at the pile. The wing can do his job. You don't have to look at him. If the wing goes up with touchdown, you do not turn to the press box and show touchdown. You dead ball officiate. If you have reverse goal line, this is a next level mechanic. If the ball is snapped inside the 5, you're on the end line because the wings are going to retreat to the goal line at the snap. If the ball is snapped outside the 5, then the wings are not going to retreat. It's your goal line and your end line. What I like to do is start closer to the ball than 12 or 15 yards. The ball snapped on the A6, the end line is 16 yards away. I don't want to be closer to the end line than the goal line, so I'll start maybe 9 or 10 yards from the ball, 4 yards into the end zone, ready to step to the goal line if I have to. Be more shallow and then wider than normal so you don't get caught up in the play. On punts, make sure we count. We may have 11 team K, 11 team R players go off and on. The kicker must be no less than 10 yards from the ball. 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th grade, they're going to be 7 or 8 yards from the ball. Give the snapper protection. Call it a legal formation. You will be 5 yards behind and 5 yards wide of the kicker. Don't set up on the same yard line. You are responsible for the kicker. You're also responsible to look at any of the personal protectors. Make sure they don't block below the waist. The wings on a punt, the line judge is going downfield or he's already downfield. The head linesman should not be looking into the backfield. The head linesman should be looking at gunners on his side. You've got the kicker, you've got the blocks in the backfield. Beware of the fake or broken plays. When I say to the coach, are there any special plays or formations that may take us by surprise? If he fake punts and we screw it up and he didn't say anything and he's yelling at me, I might say, Coach, I asked you in the pregame if you had any special plays or formations. You said no, and then you have a fake punt in the first quarter. That's not an excuse, but I'm just going to say that. Trick plays must be perfect, just like an onside kick must be perfect. Some teams like to have players on each side of the snapper, and then they're eligible receivers because they're in the backfield, but they'll scooch forward and have their helmet penetrating the waist of the snapper, which makes them a lineman. Formations must be perfect. Trick plays must be perfect. If they're rugby-style punts, if it's a broken play like a snap over the punter's head, and the punter runs and grabs the ball and then spins and kicks and then gets hit, if the hit is legal, meaning not an illegal helmet contact, you're going to give the defense more grace. Because the defense doesn't know, like with a rugby-style punt, if the kick is actually going to go off. If the defender slams into the plant leg, it's roughing. If the kicker is knocked to the ground and he's not acting, it's roughing. If there is running into with some force, the kicker's displaced, you can call running into. If the defender touches the kicker and doesn't displace the kicker, just let it go. As soon as the ball is punted, take a quick peek in which direction is it going. Move behind the punter quickly if it's heading toward the sideline, because you're going to have to line up the kick out of bounds if it goes out of bounds in the air. Kick goes off. I don't say kicks away, by the way. It doesn't matter to me. The players don't need to hear kicks away. If it's shanked to the sideline, I got to get behind that punter to line up the kick. If it goes out of bounds on the fly, we raise our arm and face the wing and chop, and hopefully the wing knows what to do. If you have a brand new official, you may have to say the ball went out of bounds on this yard line. Wait for the play to be over before you tell the linesman to move chain. And pregame the signal. Are you going to point? Are you going to spin your finger? Are you going to do guns? When everything is fine, we don't have flags, we're moving the chains, hustle down the field, don't walk to your new spot, indicate first down, count the players, ensure the crew is ready, including picking up a beanbag, whistle the ready for play. Above all, don't rush, because what's going to happen until you blow the ready for play? Nothing. So take your time. Here's 4-person mechanics. If the kick is inside the R15, your position is going to be just like with 5-person mechanics. The umpire and a wing are under the uprights. The remaining wing has the entire line. If it's outside the R15, 4-person mechanics, the umpire's in the defensive backfield in his umpire position. The wing that's facing the holder is under the upright by himself in the middle, and the remaining wing has the entire line. For the penalty flag, slow down. Everybody stops the clock. Beep, 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 beep. Tell your new officials you want to beep, 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 beep. There's nothing more frustrating than saying first down and an official is standing over their flag with a forlorn look on their face, not drawing attention to themselves. When that official comes to you, you want a clear explanation, but you may have to ask questions. So they said, I've got holding. Is the flag on offense or defense? Do you like the spot of your flag is one of the questions I ask if it's going to be a spot foul. No, it's 3 yards off. Okay, after we're done, go place your flag on the right spot. Get the explanation, so make sure it's clear. When do you wave off a flag? If it's an incorrect rule interpretation. I've got a hurdle, you ask a question. What was the posture of the defender? He was on his knees. Well, we don't have a hurdle then. I've got a horse collar. That's even more common. Describe what you saw. Did he go backward or sideward? Did he grab the inside, back or side collar, jersey, or nameplate area? Was there anybody else in on the tackle? Was the force of the horse collar the only thing that pulled the runner to the ground? If you clearly viewed the action, you're on the right side of the formation, the runner goes to the right, you're tracking the runner, you're looking ahead, and your wing throws a blindside block, and you saw the block that he thought was blindside. The blocker had open hands. Or he called blocking below the waist, and the block started above the waist and then continued below the waist. Have the courage to say, that was open hands. That is not a foul. We're waving it off. Let's say the line judge throws a flag for a foul on an opposite player. I don't like those. So I'll say, what do you got? I've got encroachment. What number? 52. Where's 52? Oh, he's the right end. Well, that's not on your side. That's not your judgment. You don't ask the other official. You just say, we're waving this off. This is not a foul. Above all, trust your crew. I've had an official report a foul to me, and inside I'm thinking, this is bull hockey. And then I look at it on Huddle, and it's the greatest flag in the history of football. If you haven't seen it bigger than Dallas, don't say, yeah, that doesn't make sense. We're not doing it. For penalty enforcement, after the official tells you the foul, you can give a preliminary signal. Pass interference, defense. Hold, offense. Then you're going to speak to the head coach for enforcement options. Do not assume the coach will enforce the foul. With the new penalty enforcement, he may want to take the result of the play. And oh, by the way, Rule 3, rule about timing, where inside 2 minutes, if the clock would otherwise start on the ready, the offended team can choose to have the clock start on the snap. If the coach declines the foul, they are still afforded that option. They don't have to accept the foul to have the clock start on the snap if it would otherwise start on the ready. I screwed that up in a varsity game at Fountain Fort Carson. Don't screw it up like me. If it's 4th down and you had a scrimmage kick and you're going to replay the down, don't say re-kick. Say replay the down. After you speak to the head coach, talk to the umpire. You want to confirm with the umpire, make sure the wings know. Then go to an open spot and report the foul and enforcement. We want to be stationary. We're not walking as we're reporting. We are not leaning, so remain upright. The rule book says to give the dead ball signal. So for example, dead ball, false start. I don't do that. I just say false start. And one of the things we want to do is report within a box. You basically draw this imaginary box, and for many of your signals, you try not to reach outside the box. Maybe a little bit higher higher than your head. If you're showing the down, we're not reaching. Holding, offense number 31, 10-yard penalty from the previous spot, replay second down. We don't reach our hand for the second down way above our head. We try to keep it in the box at about head level. Don't bounce your signals. Encroachment, 2 hands on the hips. Don't bounce your hands on your hips. Ineligible downfield, put your hand on top of your head. Don't bounce your hand on your head. For the false start, don't spin your arms 18 times. I like to do 1.5. When you do your announcement, following the interception, block below the waist, defense, number 33, 15 yards from the spot of the foul, first down. You tell the status of the ball, you might say prior to the snap, before the snap, but if it's a false start or encroachment, you don't have to say before the snap. If you have a personal foul following the play, put your hand in the air. Dead ball or after the play ended, personal foul, offense number 33. If you are going to replay a down, holding, offense number 18, 10-yard penalty from the previous spot, replay second down. False start, offense number 18, 5-yard penalty, remains second down. If you have a first down, there are 4 fouls that are automatic. Roughing the passer, roughing the snapper, roughing the holder, roughing the kicker. Automatic first down versus you have 3rd and 4, you have encroachment. Encroachment, defense number 77, 5-yard penalty, yardage results in a first down. Here are some examples. I won't read them. Get into a rhythm. Practice your penalty reporting. Practice in front of the mirror. Practice your signals. And especially know the down. Many times I'm in the middle of my announcement and I'm not even sure what down it's supposed to be. You don't want to turn and look at the chains, and you don't want to look at your hand. Before you start the announcement, be 100% sure what the down is. For timeouts, kill the clock and whistle. If the coach called a timeout before the quarter ended or before time expired in the play clock, give that timeout to the coach. Announce and point to the requesting team's end zone. Timeout, give the stop the clock signal facing the press box. Timeout, Liberty. Turn and point to Liberty's end zone. Then you want to confirm the time and remaining timeouts with the entire crew. Do not assume everyone knows. When you tell the coach he's out of timeouts, make sure that the wing on that sideline is part of that conversation. When you have timeouts, if you have to come together, especially with a young crew, you might come together and do a quick teaching point, but no smoking and joking. Especially with sub-varsity, when the timeout ends, make sure you have chin straps, mouthpieces, count the players, wait, nothing happens until you're ready for play. For the end of the quarter, make sure we don't have any flags on the ground. Understand untimed down scenarios. If they request a timeout before the clock expired, give them the timeout between the coach saying timeout, the wing acknowledging it, the wing blowing the whistle. Could be 3, 4, 5 second latency. Write down the ball location, the down distance, the clip. And you may have to go help the linesman with the chains if he's new-ish. If you don't have to help the linesman, hustle to the new spot. Don't walk. Ensure everybody's ready before they're ready for play. Don't stop or slow down the game to give an explanation. Don't stop the game to talk to the coach about why you didn't flag holding or why you did. If something happens that is unusual or important, yes, stop the game. Go to the coach. Make sure the coach understands. Brief your wing to take care of his sideline. Don't talk to the sidelines if you're close to the sidelines. Don't yell to the sidelines. If the coach is yelling, let the coach know you're listening if you can. If the coach comes onto the field, escort the coach off the field to the sideline and then face the field. Don't face out of bounds because then players and parents can see your lips. I like to start a conversation with, Coach, what is your concern? Many times you haven't seen the play, trust your crew. If the coach wants an explanation about why there wasn't DPI, you could say, Coach, I'll talk to that wing at the earliest opportunity and give you an answer. Unless he called a timeout and says, I want an answer now, then you can talk to the wing, but we're not there to run around and try to get explanations. If the coach has a rule misinterpretation and he says there were 12 in the huddle, coach, by rule, that's not a high school foul. If the coach is concerned about you didn't throw a flag or you did throw a flag, you can start a comment with, Coach, in my judgment. Let's hustle off the field. We know how to do that. Don't loiter. Don't speak to the coaches. Sometimes the players want to run up and give us a fist bump or thank you. That's fine. If somebody's yelling at you or arguing, don't address it. Keep the post-game discussions positive. If you have new officials on the field, if they have time after the game, debrief them, but don't attack and don't allow officials to attack each other. If an official is upset and they go storming off the field, if you can, try to mitigate and say, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? CHSAA does not have authority over middle school or Parks and Rec. If you have a varsity game, you're going to do a game report regardless. If you have a JV or C squad, you submit an ejection report to CHSAA. Let your crew chief know if you have any issues. Bad information does not get better when the crew chief finds out because someone else calls and they hear it for the first time 2 days later. If something happens, unusual situations, conflicts, and maybe the crew chief needs to know, hey, this Nick guy, you need to put him on more varsity games. Let that crew chief know. For halftime and postgame, decompress before discussing issues, especially at halftime. If tensions are high, get some water. Praise first. I really like how you did that goal line. If you have something you need to talk about, don't just start flinging. Don't allow a crew member to attack another. No arguments. Try to calmly shut it down, but be forceful if you have to. If two officials are going to go at it verbally, you shut it down. We're not doing that here. And if somebody gets out of control, they'll have to deal with their crew chief. Most of the time, if you have an issue, if that official is hot, you can address it later. I like to ask questions instead of making a statement. What did you see on that play? What do you think of your look? What happened on your sideline? Let the official answer the questions and then continue to ask questions to get to the teaching point. Don't say you did it wrong. Say what happened? What was your movement? What did you think about your movement? Do you think you could have done something better? Let the official come up with the answer if you can. There's a concept called psychological safety. If the leader starts by being transparent, then others will feel safe to be transparent. Psychological safety means if I walk in and I go, man, I screwed that up. I was way out of position. Or on that one pass play, I looked downfield and my quarterback got destroyed. Or did you see how I pointed in the wrong direction? Something like that. That allows the other crew members to feel safe.